The Roanoke Voyages corridor connects the three bridges on Roanoke Island. It runs from the landing of the Umstead Bridge on the north end of Roanoke Island through the town of Manteo. It connects to the intersection of Highway 64 and Highway 345. Then it runs east along the Manteo Causeway to the landing of the Bomb Bridge, and then it runs back west to the landing of the Virginia Dare Memorial Bridge.
It links about 20 cultural or educational sites on the island, and that's why it was created. In 1981, the General Assembly created the Roanoke Voyages Corridor Commission, which was a state commission, and in 1982, the corridor was planted with about 1,000 trees, a combination of live oaks on the north end of the island, and then crepe myrtles throughout the town of Manteo and up to the intersection at Wanchese. And the idea was to commemorate the Roanoke Voyages, 1584 to 1587, for the quadricentennial celebration of the first English colony in the New World.
The 1982 legislation which created the corridor has been very effective in making an appealing, attractive drive on Roanoke Island. So the basic regulations in the Roanoke Voyages corridor involve the installation and removal of vegetation, the installation of signage, driveway curb cuts, and utility installation. Additional regulations prohibit the installation of billboards within 600 feet of the right-of-way. The town of Manteo is responsible for enforcement within the town limits. Dare County handles all of those areas outside of the incorporated areas of Manteo.
In July of 2011, the North Carolina General Assembly delegated the enforcement authority to the town of Manteo and the county of Dare, the two local governments that are located on Roanoke Island. Previously, the enforcement of the corridor regulations was handled directly through the Roanoke Voyages Commission through an employee that worked for the state. We've transitioned from having a state employee enforce those regulations to having the local governments do it, and that transition has been relatively seamless.
The application review process is handled by the town or the county in the appropriate jurisdiction to ensure that all activities taking place along the corridor are in compliance. There's no fee associated with the application, and the application is generally handled as part of a site plan review process. Persons with property along the Roanoke Voyages corridor should contact either the town or the county prior to undertaking any activities that may be governed by these regulations. It's especially important that the existing vegetation along the corridor not be cut or altered in any way prior to contacting the town of Manteo, Dare County, or NCDOT. The reason we have the corridor regulations is to promote the aesthetic qualities of Roanoke Island. The live oaks and crepe myrtles were planted in 1982 by NCDOT and cannot be cut or altered without their permission.
The landscaping of the corridor occurred in late 1982, and there's a series of live oaks that are planted closer to the Fort Riley National Historic Site on the north end of Roanoke Island, and then crepe myrtles are planted along the remainder of the corridor as it runs along Highway 64. The maintenance of the corridor landscaping is handled by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. They have full-time crews that go out and do an excellent job of maintaining the corridor. In fact, the corridor is designated as a North Carolina Scenic Byway, which is a well-deserved designation considering how beautiful that corridor is as you drive along Highway 64.
The Roanoke Voyages corridor connects important sites on Roanoke Island, for example, national historic sites such as Fort Riley National Historic Site, Roanoke Island Festival Park, and the North Carolina Aquarium. It connects the Elizabethan Gardens, the Lost Colony Outdoor Drama, Island Farm, and it connects P Island Cookhouse, Roanoke Island Maritime Museum, and other locations on the island that people love, who live here, and also people come here to visit. Before the corridor was developed, Roanoke Island had a two-lane road, and the sides of the road were dusty. People parked along the sides of the road. It looked like you were out in the country. It really didn't even feel like that much like an island on the road. And there were about 43 billboards in that 9-mile stretch. That's a lot of billboards.
The goals of the corridor regulations that were put in place in 1982 have been very successful in creating this very unique environment for visitors and residents to enjoy and for future generations to enjoy as the years go by. The regulations have transformed Highway 64 on Roanoke Island into a scenic jewel as we know it today.